here is that if I wanted to provide it more than one, because we did have ... after the file argument in the man page, I could do /etc/ssh, and then another directory, for instance, /home. And this is going to do a long listing of both of those directories, one at a time. So if I go up here, I can see the ls output of etc ssh. And then it does an ls on /home. So that is what the ... means within the man page, that we can provide more than one of that type of argument. So as I said, the man command or man pages are one of the most important tools that you need to learn how to use as a Linux user, and especially as a Linux system administrator. So the first thing that I want to talk about here is if you actually just do a little bit of inception and do a man on man, you will see the man page for the man command. And if we hit the page down key one time, here we can see that it gives us an explanation of the table below, shows the section numbers of the man pages with sort of a description. So if you're ever curious when you're looking at a certain man page as to what type of man page is it for, because sometimes there will be multiple man pages for the exact same command or the exact same name in multiple different sections that provide different types of information. Like one could provide file format information, and then another one could provide actual command information, whether like system administration commands or executable programs. But like I said, there's actually 9 different pages here. The ones you need to be most concerned about is executable programs or shell commands. That's going to cover your basic commands. And then file formats will cover the formats of multiple different system configuration files, like for instance etc password that it shows you there on the screen, or like an SSHD service configuration file. And number 8 is system administration command. Like it says here, usually only for root. Those are typically going to cover commands that are only usually used for administrative purposes. So that you can use that as a quick reference if you forget what the sections are. And so if we do a quick man on the command ls for listing directory contents, in the top you'll actually see here it says 1. That tells us that this is found in section 1 of the man pages, which is where your basic user commands are. If I do a man on, for instance, ifconfig maybe, we'll see that this one is actually in section 8. This is more of a system administrator type of command. And if I did a man on passwd, here we can see that that is actually a basic command because it's found in section 1. But if I do a man on /etc passwd, or maybe a man on sshd_config, we see here that this one is actually found in section 5. So this is a man page that covers exactly how the configuration file needs to be configured for that service to work. So interpreting the man pages is important. If we do a man on the date command, what you'll notice here is first we're going to have sort of a synopsis of how the command arguments and options are formatted. This will give you a good idea as to what arguments are required for the command to work and what options may be required for the command to work, or whether or not an argument is really required at all for that command to work. We get a brief description of what it is here, and then down here we get sort of an explanation of all the different options and what they do and what their function is and how they alter the behavior of the original command. Sometimes, depending on the man page, you also get good examples. Not all man pages have actual good examples for you to reference, but for instance, this one does, and that can be useful, as well as author and copyright data and stuff like that at the bottom. The main thing you're really going to be worried about is sort of what's in this synopsis section, and then in the description section, where you'll see the definition of each individual option. Now, a useful way to find information you're looking for inside of a man page, for instance, if we did a man on the bash shell, this is a very long man page. There is a lot of stuff in here. We could hold the page down button and just scroll down forever. There's a lot of information in here. But if we knew specifically for something we wanted to look for, we don't actually have to hit page down until we find it. If you just hit the / key, this is going to allow you to type a string, any type of string you want, and it'll search the entire man page and try and find it for you. So for instance, say I wanted to look for the TAC-R option. I'm just going to type TAC-R and press enter. And there we go. If that's not exactly what you wanted, you can use the _n key to search for the next instance of TAC-R until you find exactly what you wanted. Okay, so say that previous one was the one that I wanted to read about, but I passed it. Now I can just hold Shift and press N to go backwards, or capital N. So _n goes forwards, capital N goes backwards. Now I found the option that I was looking for, and I saved a lot of time of not having to scroll through the entire man page to look for it. If I want to quit out of a man page, it tells you right at the bottom what you need to do. All you have to do is press Q to quit. Another thing that's important to understand about man pages is inside the synopsis area here, you can see that it tells us exactly what types of arguments are required for that command to work. Now, what's important here is when you see square brackets like this, that means that whatever is inside of it is optional. That means it is not required, but you can put it in the command if you want to. If you see 3 dots, that means you can have basically one or an infinite amount of those options. So, for instance, let me erase this real quick. So for instance, on the ls command, according to the synopsis here, the options are optional, and a file name or a directory name is optional as well. And let's see if it works like that. If I just type ls with no arguments, it works. If I type ls and I give it an argument or an option of TAC-L, it works that way as well. But it's not required. So that's how you interpret the synopsis, the basics of interpreting how to use the command within the synopsis section. The next thing about the man command that's extremely useful when you're not really sure what command you need to use, or you have an idea of what command you need to use, but you don't know what the name of the command is. There is a special command on the system called apropos. It's a French word. We can look at the man page for it here. And you can see in the description there that this command is basically used to search the man page names and descriptions for a keyword. We don't actually have to use the apropos command though. We can just use the TAC-K option for man. So if we do a man, and I do / TAC-K and hit enter, next, Next. Here we can see that tac-k, which is also equivalent to the long option tac-tac apropos, is equivalent to using the apropos command. It searches the short manual page descriptions for keywords just like the apropos command does. So, for instance, in this situation, say we needed a calculator. We needed to perform some arithmetic on the machine, but we weren't really sure how to do that or what types of calculator functions or applications were on the machine. But we knew we needed a calculator. We could do man tac-k and then just type the word calculator. And what this is going to do is it's going to search every man page in the entire system and find every one that within the description of the command has the word calculator. And here you have to kind of do a little bit of digging and research and kind of figure out which one fits the needs that you have best. For instance, an arbitrary precision calculator language may not be exactly what you want to use. You may want a graphical desktop calculator, in which case you could just type gnome tac calculator and a calculator would execute and you could use it there. And another example, say we wanted to know what date it was. On the graphical user interface, we could just click the date up in the top right corner to see a little calendar. But say we were on a console or we only had a command line, but we wanted to know what the date was, or not just the date, we wanted to see a calendar for the week. We don't know of a command that can show us a calendar, so I'm just going to type man tac-k and then type in calendar. If we read here, we see the first one displays a calendar. Compute the difference between two calendar time values. That's not exactly what we want. This sounds more like what we're wanting. So if I type the cal command, we can see that it prints a short little calendar there on the screen for us to look at and reference. And that's how we would use the apropos option or the tac-k option with the man command.